Nicole Scott here from Mobile Geeks, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Samsung Galaxy S7. It's iterative, it's beautiful. Find out if it's worth the money. So opening the box, we have the S7, a quick start guide, a quick charger, USB cable, micro USB to full-size USB, a micro USB to full-size USB adapter, and some headphones. At 5.1 inches, this Super AMOLED display is stunning. It has a resolution of 1440 by 2560. Under the hood, we have an Exynos 8890 octa-core processor with 4 GB of RAM and options for 32 and 64 GB of storage. On the rear, we have a 12 megapixel camera with an aperture of 1.7. On the front, we've got a 5 megapixel camera that takes a pretty mean selfie. Pair that with a fingerprint sensor and the fact that it's waterproof and has an SD card this time around, and we have a pretty compelling smartphone. Now, I 100% support Samsung's decision not to put a 4K display in like Sony tried to do. The S6 had an absolutely gorgeous display, and the S7 is absolutely no different. But there is something interesting that they've added. There's actually an adaptive brightness. So what it does is it will know what your preferred brightness is depending on the ambient light. So if you adjust it as you go along, then it will actually know where to put auto. It's a very nice addition. Samsung also has always on display. Head into display, always on, and then you can actually customize it with varying clock styles. Samsung claims the average person turns their phone on 150 times to look at the time. Always on display will use about 1% of power per hour, which should be less than you actually powering on your phone just to check the time. Now let's talk camera. The S7 has gone from 16 megapixels down to 12, but the overall software processing on the camera I think has increased greatly. Now let's talk autofocus on the S7 because, well, it is fast. Look at that, boom. Boom, right? It is so fast. But let's play around with this a little bit. Now my hand is here, it's fuzzy, center, then it comes into focus, right? So even though every pixel is kind of helping focus so that by the time it gets here, your hand is in focus, it doesn't actually decide to change the focus until the object that's closer is center, right? Not in focus, focus. Out of focus, focus. Out of focus, focus. I mean, this is actually a pretty fun game to play, but at the same time, it just shows you how fast this focus is, and that it is quite smart, that you do need to be center of the picture in order for it to change. So let's take a closer look at photo quality. I have to admit that I'm a huge fan of this camera, how fast it is, the level of detail that you get, the amount that you're able to zoom in on photos. It just looks really great. So this is Dusseldorf just this morning, first snow of the season. Here is an example of a selfie basically in the dark. So what Samsung actually does is that they turn the screen white and take the photo, so they're using the display as a flash. So it kind of, it looks really good, actually, to be honest. There I was moving and laughing. There I am again, a little more serious. Right, so there's an interesting feature here with panorama. So if we kind of take a look at this, you can see that it's actually playing a video, right? So as you're kind of zooming around, you can kind of get an idea of what it was like. Now this is another thing that I wanted to kind of bring up, is that I was trying to take a picture of the Mobile Geeks team as we got together here in Dusseldorf, and you can see that it just didn't do a great job. Now this is a couple of variations where I tried to go into pro mode. This is an auto. Well, a couple beers in, there's my finger over the flash. There's with flash, right? So you can see it's kind of washed out, though it is clear, and you can see everybody. So big fan of that. But then this is, right, so club shots are among the most difficult to take. Now, I kind of assumed that it would do better because it has the aperture of 1.7. But overall, like the fast lighting changes, I mean, they're all completely usable. But I have to admit, when I compare it to something like Huawei, who has actually tuned their camera to look good in a club, it makes me a little bit disappointed. So here's some photos of Marcus. You can see that he actually looks a little bit green. I don't know why. If you look at the background here, these kind of low lighting situations, they are a little bit noisy. This was taken in auto, right? But like most camera phones, auto So like most smartphone cameras, auto isn't the best setting. So here's some outdoor shots where I actually put it into pro mode, where this looks fantastic. The level of detail on this statue is great, the backlighting is excellent. Right? If we take a look at this house, right, the shadows and the way the light's hitting it looks quite good. All right, so here's a general street shot. Very nice level of detail on something where we have like drastic contrasting shades of light with the red and the white and the green. Here's a church that I took these in pro mode, and you can see that the stained glass is actually showing a very good level of detail on here. Now, one of the cool things is that you can actually go down to an ISO of 50, 80, or 100. Now, it actually has the ability to go up to leaving the shutter open for 10 seconds, so you can take light trails. Now, I actually handheld these. These aren't on a tripod. These are just me holding my breath for 2 seconds, getting cars driving by. So you can see that was, I think, for half a second because I was trying to get the background in focus. But you can see that these are actually very usable and very decent considering the fact that these aren't tripoded and they're just handheld. All right, so I shortened that. But in general, like, I was able to get good amount of detail on there. And here's something else that I thought was actually really interesting. So I was on a podcast recently with Steve, and he picked this up and he took a couple photos of me. So I'm actually mid-sentence during both of these, and I think like this is actually pretty good for somebody moving and talking at the same time. And we have some great outdoor shots here. See if I zoom in on this shrubbery here. Good amount of detail. See this bouquet, the amount of detail that you get on the thing that you focused on, and then how this kind of really great effect. I mean, this is a stunning photo. And even here, when she was cycling past, and we're actually getting some spokes, right? The fact that we're actually able to see individual spokes is incredibly impressive. And of course, taking pictures of animals. So I walked past a bunch of these dogs and I was trying to take their photo, all fast moving, all really excited. But I managed to get a couple of good shots. So he's bounding away, right? And he stopped to look at me. But I kind of thought this was fairly impressive for how much detail you could get on these dogs, even though they were moving so quickly. And I'm just going to show you one more low light example. So here's a candle in a bar, and this corner is just really great. Now if we take a look at what this looked like on the S6 Edge, yeah, just the detail on the glass is just a little bit more vivid, although the S6 Edge Plus does produce like a much brighter, more clear photo. The S7 just seems a little darker and green, even though technically this is more accurate. If you remember TouchWiz from the Galaxy S6, not a lot has changed. The icons have gotten a little bit flatter, and the notification bar has a different area for pull down and doesn't have the swipe right to left anymore. We also have an always on display toggle that's been added in, and when you hit the power button, well, we have like a different layout when it comes to turning things off. Internally, there's a lot that I actually do like about what they have going on. This used to be an app, Smart Manager, and now they've integrated this back into the operating system. So the app section also has an app drawer, which I'm really happy about because LG decided to drop theirs, and most Chinese ODMs don't really have one. So that the fact that you have a really nice app drawer in the back, just like vanilla Android, makes me quite happy that TouchWiz is a little more Google than some other operating systems these days. So if we hold down the multitask, we can go into split app view. As always, double tapping the home button directly brings you into camera. So now let's talk preloaded apps. Microsoft's apps actually come preloaded, and to be honest with you, I've been using them a little bit more these days, seeing as I've switched over to Word. So OneDrive I find is a lot more intuitive than, say, Google Drive, and well, Word is just a better experience even on the app side when it comes to working on docs. Samsung has actually done a pretty good job at keeping other bloatware down. We have S Health, their Galaxy App Store, S Voice, which I never really use. It's kind of their Cortana competitor. But compared to some other phones, this is actually pretty light. So there was a lot of talk about Samsung not making the SD card available for internal storage, and that still is the case. But Samsung did issue a statement saying that the card would be formatted, and clearly it hasn't been. So the reason why Samsung has chosen not to do this is because Mounting the SD card as internal storage is actually aimed at emerging markets, so smartphones that only have 48 gigabytes of internal storage. This is where you'd want the SD card to act as internal storage. When you have larger available internal storage like the 32 that's available here or the 64 that's available later, the SD card as internal storage isn't as much of an issue. Game Launcher is a nice new feature that we have added in, so you can choose whether or not you want to save power, turn it off and have full frame rate, or put the resolution at extremely low. To be honest with you, in terms of usage, I haven't noticed a difference between any of them really, so I've just auto put it on to save power. Now, I'm gonna have to do a lot more testing to figure out if this is actually a thing that works. All right, so you can see that I've got the option to record the screen as well as take screenshots. So now I'm gonna actually do that to show you what it sounds like. So I'm gonna turn the volume up. So you can see in gameplay it actually sounds pretty good. The only downside is that because the speaker is here, sometimes I kind of cover it up. Well, clearly I should pay attention to the road while I'm driving. But why don't we check out some screen recordings? Let's take a look at battery life. 1 day and 36 minutes. Now, what have I been doing? Screen on time, 4 hours and 3 minutes, which is pretty impressive. Cell standby because, well, yeah, smartphone, messenger, a little bit of chat, media server. This is actually watching 2 episodes of Grey's Anatomy. I did about 15 minutes of gaming, Facebook, as well as YouTube down here. Let's see, we had 3% use, and that was actually 1 hour of cat videos. Taking a look at the micro USB to full-size USB connector, you can just plug it in and use it to transfer files or music or whatever you want onto your phone. So, what's the final verdict on the S7? It's got a gorgeous display, it's got stand-up battery life, and the camera is exceptional. But it's just hard for me to get emotional about a phone that has kind of a boring design. It might be beautiful, but it's not very inspiring. Having said that, I can look past that for the killer camera. The autofocus is really fast, and when you put it into pro mode, the nighttime shots are exceptional. As an all-around shooter, anyone's going to be really happy with this. So if you are looking to upgrade from the S6 to the S7, you will be getting waterproofing, an SD card, and a slightly better camera. And of course, the most important, killer battery life. So all in all, I have to say I do recommend getting the S7, even though the design doesn't really make me that happy. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I'm your host, Nicole Scott for Mobile Geeks.